and goblins. Welcome to the October extravaganza episode. Alright, so, hello everybody. Welcome back to the front porch. I am your host, Ethan. As you can tell, it's our Halloween episode. Pretty spooky, right? Yeah? You guys in the mood yet? Spooky? With me are Dane and Aubrey.
Hello.
Two spooky people. Spooky lovers.
Fair.
Define spooky. I
Okay,
guess.
well, you're spooky. Like, you just look spooky.
Oh,
Yeah. You're fine normally, though.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Nice.
And Aubrey, you're a witchy, energy-loving,
Yes.
Nice.
spooky person.
This is my time of year when I thrive. Yes. I accept that.
So I know that we were going to start this with ghost experiences and talking about the ghost in this office. Because as you can see, we are in our basement. The basement is very scary. None of us really like coming down here that much. But we figured for the Halloween episode, it seemed appropriate.
I disagree. There's a bathroom down here I like to frequent.
I know you like that bathroom. And you're the only one that uses it. So,
It's peaceful.
yeah. I don't blame you. But, I know we're also on a time crunch because you have to leave soon.
Soonish. Yes, soonish.
So, would you like to kick this off with your ghost experience?
Well, let's talk about, you kind of teed up where we're at here.
Yeah.
We're in the basement of our office here at 730 Eddy Studios. And what some of you may or may not know is we're not alone in this building.
No.
That's excluding the doctor. He doesn't count, but
Yeah, no. He's cool. But he has also been here a while. And this basement is full of old medical records, history, items. I just threw some medication earlier that expired in 1988. A lot of stuff. There's a play school toy back there that should not be touched.
somebody touched it and we told them not to, and it moved.
Yeah, I don't know who it was, but God bless them.
They're going to
Godspeed.
need it.
Yeah,
Godspeed.
Godspeed.
But in terms of the occupants of the building here, there's a few of them, I feel like.
Yes, there is more than just a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
There are things that exist in this building that are ethereal, things that are unnatural. Some may say supernatural. We're talking ghosts, baby. We're talking nitty-gritty, Travel Channel, Ghost Adventures, shadow people, apparitions, spirit orbs. We're talking ghosts. Paranorman Frankenweenie style. That's what it's about.
And with that, since we moved into the building, there have been unexplained things happening. Things going bump in the night. Mysterious lights on the security cameras. Footsteps when nobody's around. And I'll say this. I may have been the first one to experience what has been happening here at the office.
Yes, Dane has been here longer than Aubrey and I have. So you've definitely had more experiences, I feel like.
And it was after that first experience that everybody seemed to start experiencing random things. So the first time I had this encounter with this spirit, I was in the bathroom in the north side of the office here. And, I just wasn't thinking anything of the sort. Everything seemed normal. And I believe I was by myself because it was after hours. And I was getting ready to leave. And I hear footsteps. But not just footsteps, but they were heels, like a woman wearing galoshes. You know, that type of sound.
Very specific.
The problem, though, the sound emanated from the hallway, and the hallway's carpeted. The main hallway when you come into the building. It didn't dawn on me until maybe 10 seconds later. So I'm thinking, oh, somebody's in the main office. They forgot something, and, you know, they're just going to come in and go, because I didn't hear anybody announce themselves or anything like that. There was nothing. So I'm like, okay, cool. And so I check the furthest end over where the project managers sit. I didn't see anybody. So I'm like, okay, they have to be out in the hallway, right? So I check the hallway. Nobody's out in the hallway. Nobody. So I just was like, okay, cool. Yeah, maybe I heard something, and I just left it at that. And the following day, I'm talking to Andy, our CEO and founder of the business here, and he just kind of laughed me off and thought I was crazy. And then I'm like, all right, cool. I should never have told you. But then he started experiencing things not too long after that. And it seemed like the whole office started to experience one thing after another. And so with that, have you two had any odd observations, encounters in the office here that you'd like to share?
Had a few. But before I go, have you had any? Because you've been here the least amount of time.
Yeah, I've been here almost 7 months, and I've had a handful of things happen. And this is no joke. Like, this isn't a Halloween gag that we're doing. Like, these things really happen in our office. Even, like, the energy down here is weird. But my things, I'm a big energy person. I'm super in touch with this kind of stuff. So I guess it's not really frightening to me. I can just kind of, if I pick up on something, it's like, okay, that's there. And it just kind of is what it is. The first thing that happened, I had come in a little early. This is maybe 2-3 months ago now. I had come into the office early before anyone else got here, just kind of going about my morning, sitting at my desk, and my desk is here, and there's a door off to my right. And sometimes the door is open and people walk by in the hallway, and I'm standing by my desk, and I looked up in the doorway because I swore somebody was standing there. Like, either somebody just being like, hey, where's the doctor's office? Or the cleaning crew is sometimes here. And I looked up to say hi to somebody because there was like a figure. I felt the energy change in the room. You know, when someone comes in a room, you know that they're there. You can feel their presence. Yep. It was just like that. I mean, I looked up to be like, oh, good morning. Nobody was there. And I just got not necessarily like a chill, but just my body reacted to that energy change. And I just kind of stood there for a second like, okay, I'm the only one here. You know, it's morning, energies are adjusting, things are different. But it was definitely, I mean, there was somebody standing in that door. And that's kind of most of what my encounters or feelings around here are like energy. Even kind of just walking past the basement door, sometimes being upstairs, you just kind of feel it. There's something else here. This basement is kind of two-sided. There's a staircase that kind of splits the two sides, and there's definitely different feelings in different quadrants of this basement.
And there's a third part of the basement that we can access that's even creepier than the two here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and I didn't know too much about what you've seen and felt and all of that when I started here. And I think when I first started, Andy brought me down here and didn't really say too much, but you come down here and it's like, oh, besides just a cold basement and then having personal items and medical records and things that belong to people, especially people who may no longer be alive, there's definitely energy connected to some of those items. So like, I keep telling people not to move stuff or take anything from down here because you kind of disturb that and you can take some of that with you. But there's definitely energy and presences in this building.
There's definitely a history too, because we had some contractor electricians in a couple months ago, and they were. I keep thinking I'm hearing the same thing too.
We've been down here a long time. They're getting restless.
No, there's...
Also, Andy.
It's obvious. But we had these contractor electricians, and they were doing work in the basement over in the third creepy area. And they saw some items, and they're like, oh, we're going to take these. And they just, took whatever, I guess, right? And so they came upstairs, and they were doing some work with the breaker box over on the south side of the building. And they were... I swear to God.
He's playing the same tricks we played earlier. He's throwing rocks and things down the stairs.
You just felt something different, didn't you?
Yeah, it was weird. It felt like somebody standing behind me. Maybe we're psyching ourselves out a little bit here.
I mean, you are bringing it up. The more you talk about it, the more it's going to present itself because you're welcoming it to do that.
I mean, you're not wrong. So these electricians, they're working on the breaker box, and one of the rooms, they were fixing an issue with the electrical, and we jokingly said, maybe the ghost is responsible for some of the electrical problems that we're having. And the contractor was like, yeah, we know. So the building has a history here in Zealand with the community, apparently, and they know about this building.
Not much on paper, though.
Unless we check out the library and the archives.
I'm down.
Yeah.
So it was kind of interesting learning that part, that there is a history here that the community definitely knows. And, so I thought that was kind of interesting, learning about that bit of history with the building.
That's cool.
So, but yeah, I mean, so Aubrey brought up some experiences. Ethan, anything you can speak of?
Yeah, I mean, a few come to mind. I guess regarding the girl that's most notorious, when I set all of this up today. I came into the office very early. I was the only one here. So I've been down here a while all day. And I think normally coming down here is fine because you don't spend a lot of time in this space. You're passing through, you're not here like permanently. But I think because I've been down here a lot today, activity kind of started popping up here and there. There was knocking in the ceiling over there that I was hearing for a bit. And I thought someone upstairs was messing with me, but that's the doctor's office, and no one is in the doctor's office today. So. Oh,
really? The doctor's office?
Yeah, that's where the doctor's office is. Mm-hmm. So I was like, oh, cool.
Oh, yeah, they're close today.
Wow.
This light above us, the blue one, was flickering, and they don't do that. They have never done that. So that was another big thing. I don't think upstairs I've had any with the girl. I've heard the monitor one, Eric's monitor, falling off his desk.
Yeah, that's a huge one.
Yeah,
that was a big incident.
That's a big one.
So the story with that is we were out of town a couple of years ago. I believe we were in Dallas. Yeah, we were in Dallas for one of our clients, and I think we were just checking the security cameras just because I don't remember what the reason was we were checking them for, but the computer monitor that belonged to Eric, one of our editors at the time, had fallen off the table and under the table itself. And it's not one of those things where if a monitor falls off the table where it goes behind the table itself, and the table maybe had like a 2 or 3 inch gap from the wall, so there wasn't a lot of space behind it. But the monitor happened to fall off the table, down through the gap, hit the floor, and somehow roll out underneath the table. It would have to take some kind of force to pull it underneath the table like that.
And it landed face down.
Angry. That feels angry.
Yeah.
And on the security video, I don't think we can actually see it, but you can hear it.
You can hear it.
And it was a loud thud.
Because I'm almost positive he got the audio
He did.
notification for it.
That's probably what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think it may have set off the alarm even.
Yeah, they were
right?
he was like, it was loud. Like,
yeah.
The security system was like, what the heck is happening?
That's what it was. That's what tripped the whole thing. And it just, we couldn't describe it. Like how it was 2:00 on a Sunday.
Yeah.
Nobody was in the office. but the monitor somehow managed to like crawl underneath the table once it fell through the cracks.
Yeah, that one's nuts.
That's one of the crazier stories.
That story's nuts.
And then on our security videos, we've seen like orbs of light floating, especially where Austin's desk used to be, like the old desk of his.
Yeah.
Just seeing that, just, that's a trip.
Yeah. And the reason we say multiple occupants, because there is a girl, but this is one that comes to my mind that I think is the creepiest one that I heard. Dale, when she worked here, her and I were desk buddies basically, and we sat by the windows on the north side. And she had gotten up one day to go to the break room, and she left, and she came back almost immediately. Like, I mean, I was like, that did not take her long at all.
I heard that one coming.
You guys know Andy.
And
he's got to work on his scare tactics.
Disregarding that.
Everybody okay?
Yeah, we saw that.
Jessica almost died. Liberty.
I love how I'm like, now that was a human. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
It's different.
But anyways, Dale left and came back super quick. And she looked mortified. I had never seen her look like that before. And I like stood up because I thought something was like seriously wrong. And I was like, what happened? And she asked me, she pointed at me. She was like, were you just over there? And I was like, no, I was not. I think it was a day that like people were traveling, so there weren't a lot of people in the office too.
That may have been, yeah.
And she pointed at one of our project managers at the time and was like, were you over there? And she was like, no. And she was like, I was in the break room and I just saw like an old man standing in the doorway looking at me. And he immediately was gone.
And the doctor's office upstairs specializes in older patients.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
And it was a Wednesday, so the doctor's office wasn't open either. So no one was coming in. But I mean,
that's one of the crazier stories I've heard too.
Have never seen her look that terrified ever.
Yeah.
So I was like, you're not kidding.
I will say, with all the energy and whatever that we pick up, not that by no means am I an expert. I do tap into this kind of thing a lot, but it is a peaceful presence. I don't feel like anything is, malicious or evil. It's kind of like there's just energy attached to this building and to these things, and I feel like we have just like a respectful, mutual understanding of sharing the space. And whether they mean to make their presence known or not remains to be seen. We may never know that, especially some of the early morning things that have happened outside of the normal routine. Most of the things I felt, it does kind of startle you and jar you, and it's uncertain, but I've never felt anything malicious. It's just kind of like, okay, that's here. It's
Agreed.
obviously scary at first because you're like, hey, there was definitely someone standing there.
Yeah.
But it's not, I've never felt like we're like in danger of being here.
No.
It's just a little goosebumpy.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I feel like the north side for me is where I feel the most of something in the room with me. The south side, not so much. Not even really in the basements. Not even the podcast studio. But really, it's the north part of the building.
Yeah.
That, there are times when I'm there late or just by myself, and it feels like somebody's in the room. Kind of like right now.
Yeah, I mostly just hear footsteps of... Oh my god, a floating head!
Ladies and gentlemen, that's Donnie Miller II.
He's cool though. He works here. He's
very much alive.
He died 17 years ago.
Yeah.
The what?
He's alive, right?
Well,
That's a very good question. Good question.
Anyways,
Yeah, I mean, I willingly came down here this morning with no one else in the building, and it was like kind of unsettling because I'm like, what if I do see something? But I've never been afraid of it like hurting me. ever.
It's definitely not that presence, as Aubrey was saying. But there's definitely a male presence. There's a little girl presence.
Definitely the little girl. And I get kind of like a caretakery, like maybe a nurse or something, like the heels that you heard.
Oh, yeah.
I feel that kind of a connection here. And it used to be, wasn't this building a children's dental office or?
It was a dental office.
There was some sort of children involved, and I kind of get that like caretakery feel. And that's why there would be that connection to protecting the medical records, or there's fillings in an incinerator down here. There's someone's protecting what used to be here and some of the items here.
That's a good point.
Those are the main ones that I pick up on. Definitely the little girl, just the playful, and then the kind of maternal caretaking kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Very fair.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like we're haunted, but we're like safe.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. That's a good point.
It's like a fun haunting.
Yeah. Yeah.
No poltergeists here
Yeah, no.
No. Yeah.
or anything like that.
I just,
Yeah.
if we remain respectful and peaceful towards it, I feel like we'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed.
Right?
I'm dressed in riot gear because it's a video game character, not because I'm aggressive.
I'm just already spooky, so I didn't bring a costume today.
That's okay.
The only thing I'm worried about though is we've been doing these renovations with the building. What kind of conjurings are going to be stirred up here?
It's not up to us.
That's the only, I've been thinking about that with the renovations that we're doing with the podcast studio, and then if we just want to expand a little bit more, what are we going to stir up?
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, I think it's just how we go about it. Hopefully we go about it way better than whoever's trying to prank us right now.
They're not very good at it, by the way.
I think it's just going to be how we go about, or I guess how the crew goes about it. I think if things down here are disturbed, that seems to be where most of the like energy, spirit, whatever connection seems to be. Down here, I don't really get anything up in our podcast space.
No.
Yeah, no.
It's just kind of there. I think you just tread lightly, but that's up to the crews. I'm not doing the renovation, so it's not coming home with me.
There are some of us who haven't had any experiences. Like Kevin says he hasn't had anything.
Yeah.
He's a big
Weird
spooky
happen.
guy too. Kevin likes the spooky dark.
But then some of us, like I said, unexplained things have happened.
Yeah.
Like bangs on the wall, footsteps.
Maybe it's
Chairs
choosing
rotating.
certain people to present to. Maybe it's like, oh, that's Kevin. He's cool. I don't need to worry him.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Some
there
people
was
are gateways.
Because Kevin would probably be like, sup? Like, Kevin probably be down with it.
Yeah, I could be like, yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah. I don't know. There's so many theories and studies and what have you, but
I do want some Mothman encounters so bad.
yeah.
Don't we all?
We love that for you, Kevin.
We could all be so lucky.
Yeah.
Mothman, you're watching this. Sponsor?
Hit us up.
Please.
Like and subscribe. Leave a comment.
You got a museum? I know that pulls in a lot of money.
But he hasn't been seen in some time.
Really,
Right.
I haven't kept up on the
Allegedly.
on the sightings. I haven't been down there. Anyways, Point Pleasant.
You had a Mothman shirt on the other day.
I did.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good for you. Okay, Ethan.
Dane,
Yes?
I'm really excited for this next part.
You don't say.
Oh, I say, because this is where it gets very interesting.
Is that right?
Yup, because I want to hear your personal scary encounters.
Are you sure?
Oh, I'm positive. Very positive.
Okay.
But Dane, we'll start with you because I know you have an appointment to get to. You have an errand to run.
Yeah.
Let's get into it.
do you have?
I want to hear all about it.
What do you have? Oh, you're asking me.
Yeah, don't ask. Yeah, I'm passing it to you.
Okay. So the question is some of our personal experiences with the unexplained, if you will. I'm going to try to keep this short because there's a lot of details. But I've shared this story with a few people. And this happened about 9 years ago, give or take. I was working on a feature film at the time because I was working in movies doing grip and electric work. And there was a movie I was working on up in Manistee, and we were shooting on the whole, like 90% of the movie was shot on the SS Milwaukee, which is a decommissioned ship in the harbor of Manistee.
That ship's cool.
It's excellent, but it's also haunted, believe it or not. And so we found out the hard way, by the way. So what they do is around this time, around Halloween time, they do haunted tours of the actual ship itself. So because the ship is haunted, and so they take people through, tell them the stories about this or that. And but when we were filming on the ship, nobody had any idea that it was haunted. You know, it was just a great location, and that's why we were shooting there. And so I remember some of the first experiences. There are 3 main ones I can think of. And the first one I'll talk about is we were at lunch one day, and we were in the bowels of the ship. That's where they had the meals set up and whatnot. And I was sitting across from the key grip at the time. And we were talking face to face with each other, and we were about the same distance as you and I are right now. And he looks over his right shoulder all of a sudden. He's looking over his right shoulder, and I'm looking too, and I'm like, what are you looking at? You know, what's happening? And he doesn't say anything, right? And so the sound guy, the sound mixer, comes over and sits right next to him, and then the key grip asks him, hey, did you just tap on my shoulder? And the sound mixer's like, no, dude, I just got here. You know, I just sat down. And then I say to the key grip, I'm like, I can vouch for him. I was looking at you the whole time. Nobody tapped you on the shoulder. Come to find out, there's a ghost on the ship that likes to go around tapping people on the shoulder. That's one of the spirits on the ship.
It's kind of cool.
Classic.
And so, another story is myself and one of the PAs. We arrive early one morning. We're walking up the stairs on the side of the ship. And as we get to the top of the ship itself, we hear this blood-curdling scream. Like, I'm talking bloody murder type of thing, right? Blood-curdling scream. It just seemed very out of place. It was a beautiful morning. The sun was cresting over the horizon. No cloud in the sky. A fantastic fall morning. Except for the scream, of course. So the PA and I look at each other, and we're like, hey, did you just hear that? And he was like, yeah, man, I just heard that. And so we don't pay it any mind. And of course, we find out later that there are screams heard all the time on the ship. And they claim it's this lady in white that haunts the upper deck of the ship.
Of course it is.
Yeah, there's always a lady in white.
I've seen that movie.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this one has one as well, I'm telling you. And so the third and final experience I had on that shoot was, it was at lunchtime again one day, and the key grip and I, we were just, done with our meals, so we were just walking around, we were checking out the ship, kind of doing some exploring, went into some areas we weren't supposed to, that were dark, so, we had our mag lights, and that's the only way we can get around, and so we're going from cabin to cabin, and the cabins are immaculate. They're exactly how they were in the early 1900s. Nobody's touched them at all. So, there's a deck of cards on a table in one of the cabins. And it was a game of solitaire. Like an old deck of cards. Like way back in the day, man. And, I'm thinking to myself, let me just flip up a card. What if I continue the game of solitaire, right?
Yeah.
I thought it was a great idea at the time. So, the key grip standing in the doorway, right? I walk in. I flip a card. Lay it down. And as I lay the card down, something whips against the side of my head. I look to the key grip and I say to him, hey, Matt, did you just do that? And then he just starts to giggle. And then I'm like, okay, you did. Funny. Because I thought he was trying to scare me. Whatever. And then he continues to giggle there, and he gets louder. And I'm like, dude, what is wrong with you right now? He says when he gets scared, he starts to giggle like that, uncontrollably. And I'm like, well, what do you mean you're scared? And he says, dude, I didn't touch you. I'm like, oh, okay. And then he backs away from the door and he starts to leave. And I'm like, dude, you can't leave me here. So I bolt out of there.
To come back here.
Yeah. So I bolt out of there. I follow him. We like go up the ladder to get out of there, and we get out of the restricted area there. So that was like, it was an actual physical
I was gonna ask.
encounter.
I was like, did something like hit you, or did it like breeze past your face?
Ethan, I'm gonna recreate it here for you.
All right, I'm
It
scared.
did this. It did
Yeah,
that.
I don't like that.
That's what it did. So I could go into more detail. There's tons of other things that happen on that shoot, but those are some of the ones that stand out in my mind.
How long were you on the ship for that shoot?
We shot on that ship for 3 weeks. Everybody encountered something.
Pretty consistent the whole time?
It was consistent the whole time.
Interesting.
Everybody had a story.
Wow.
Everybody had a story.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Want to
So-
go there?
Yeah, what
As
is
you
that?
should. Do a haunted tour
Yeah.
of the
I wanna
SS
go on a
Milwaukee.
tour real bad.
Sweet.
Visit Manistee,
Pierre, Michigan.
Nice.
Pierre, Michigan.
Sponsored.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Thanks, Dane.
all right, I'm gonna pop out. It's been
All
a
right.
joy.
Yeah,
being
dude.
on the
Thanks so
podcast
much for
here.
coming on.
Yeah.
You gonna wear that the rest of the day?
You know, I
do you
just
mean?
might. I just
It
might.
looks comfy.
It's actually it stretches, so it's very comfy.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Great.
All right. You guys have a good podcast.
All right. Thank you, Dane.
Thanks, Dane. Be safe.
Bye, Dane. For those of you listening, Andy, our CEO, is joining us, taking
Hey!
Dane's spot.
Taking Dane's spot. I don't know. The seat's a little warm.
Yeah, Dane likes to keep things warm.
Okay.
I
What's
won't
up?
elaborate, but
We're going to leave that one right there.
we are sharing scary experiences.
Sweet.
So we will jump over to Aubrey, and then we'll jump back to you,
Okay.
and then I'll do mine.
Oh, I really don't know how to narrow it down. I've got a lot. We've established I'm kind of a spooky person already.
We like that though.
Yeah.
Do ya?
Uh-huh.
Wait till I tell you the truth.
It's the energy you brought.
Yeah, so as we kind of talked about in what I've picked up in this building, in this basement, is I'm big on energy. There's a lot of intuitive and low-key psychic things on both sides of my family, so I've got a double dose running through my blood, which is kind of fun to tap into. It might sound a little weird, but
We like weird too.
I like to kind of tap into it and explore that a little bit, because who knows? But yeah, a lot of my experiences are energy, and more so with people that I know or people that were close to people that I know. I had a psychic reading done a couple of months ago that I'm honestly still kind of recovering from.
Solid.
It was at this like Mind, Body, and Spirit Expo, and it was like if you buy a certain amount of whatever at this woman's booth at this expo, she would give you a free reading. And she ended up pulling me aside after my reading and just being like, there's a lot coming off of you. You have a lot of this energy. I just need to talk to you more.
Is everything okay?
Yeah. And this was after she had read me like a book. Like, I think so often there's kind of like a stigma where if you're doing these readings, they just say super blanket statements that can apply to everyone. This woman pulled things out of her brain that there's no way that she could know this about me. And one of the biggest things that she mentioned, and actually why she pulled me aside, was there's this very strong female presence, female energy that she says is watching over me and protecting me and trying to get through to me, trying to send me messages in whatever way that works. And I've always kind of felt that too, but never thought too much of it. And I'm pretty sure it's my dad's mom. She died when he was very young in a pretty tragic way, and I've just always felt strangely connected to her. And I look like her. Some of my facial features are a lot like her. In my first experience I remember with her, I was maybe 10 or 11 in my family's garage, and I opened this box of stuff, and I found a hairbrush and a mirror, and they were both matching, gold-plated, very fancy, and there were hairs in it. And my dad came out and was like, "That's my mom's." And I just remember holding that and just feeling like frozen and just tingles through my body. And I just almost where you want to like drop it because it's so kind of shocking and like vaulting. And then I just kind of didn't really think much of it. And I have some of her things in my home now, and I have a picture of her hung up. And I feel her all the time. And I do a lot of meditating, and I've gotten better at it because for me it's really hard to shut my brain off. But as I've gotten better at it, things like that start to come to me midway through meditations. I've seen my grandfather who passed last year. I've seen my dad's mom, my grandma Joyce, and the messaging, whatever, that I get through meditations are similar to what the psychic told me when she was reading me. And that had been going on since before she told me. So it's not like she put that in my brain and that subconsciously comes through meditating. It all kind of lines up. And I think it's really cool.
That's super cool.
I love tapping into that. It's kind of cool thinking that whatever remnants of my grandmother's spirit, who I obviously never met, are with me somehow, whether with her possessions or walking by her picture on my wall or her blood in my veins. It's just kind of cool knowing that that's with me, and it's almost comforting. And I've had experiences with my best friend's grandma passed less than a year ago, and there's some things that I haven't told my best friend about that, and just being around personal belongings of people who have passed, I pick up on that.
So cool.
Scary to others, I guess, but I really enjoy it, and I'm reading a book right now about how to kind of interpret messages from the other side and from loved ones, and I'm a full believer in that. So
Cool. That's awesome.
I'm like full sweat right now.
That's
Yeah.
heavy. That's heavy stuff to talk about.
Well, yeah, and as soon as you start talking about that, sometimes people look at you like you're crazy. So, it sounds
We're already
crazy,
so
but
it's fine.
for me, it was something that was really scary at first, and the more that I've dived into it, it's a little more comforting, and I'm a little more chilled about it. But
Working through it.
yeah,
It's important.
I think it's cool. So
super cool.
Yeah, it
if
is
anybody
cool.
wants to connect from the other side, let me know.
Aubrey's available on TikTok.
Like the Long Island, like the Long Island medium lady. Like, yeah, I don't know. I can't really pick and choose. Like, I couldn't be like, ooh, let me talk to your grandma. It just kind of happens.
Yeah.
But
a conduit of that sort.
yeah, it's all about energy, and especially personal belongings of people who have passed really speak to me.
Sure. It's not Horcrux.
Well, that's for another week.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Thanks, Aubrey.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Thanks for listening.
Thanks.
love-
You leaving?
I don't know. I feel like I should.
She's like, poof, it just
And
disappears.
that's it. I'll leave you with that. Sleep well.
She's up in a little cloud of sparkles.
Yeah.
I float away.
Pulls a
Let me get on my
broom out front of the
broomstick and fly
table.
home. Yeah. Later. Yeah. Whee! Yeah. Yeah.
My turn. We have enough tape.
Yeah, I want to hear this.
Andy,
Yo.
Dane says you have a lot of good,
I have
scary stories.
They're not, so there's only two that are like, what? But I have a lot of trauma in my life, either direct trauma, adjacent trauma, or experienced trauma around me.
Mm-hmm.
One, because I was a news photographer for so long.
Yep.
Two, because that's just what it is growing up in the West. It's kind of trauma centric.
Yeah.
And then three, it just sort of like is always around me in weird
Mm-hmm.
ways. I mean, like ghosts, totally okay with ghosts. One, huge Ghostbusters fan, but two, also like growing up in weird places that I've grown up, there's always been like that scary house or that spooky house, but then like it's like, oh yeah, we'll walk by it, and then you walk by, you're like, oh, that's a real thing. So yeah, there's lots of it. So I could go on and on and on, but I can kind of pick out a couple
that's what I mean,
I was gonna say, depending on how long and intricate the stories are, I'd say one.
you know me.
I know. So how about we do one?
No, okay. So I can think of I'll keep it. I'll keep them tight. These will be good versions. Okay, so the first like really early on experience I have with like ghosts or energies is where I grew up in White Sulphur Springs, Montana. It's this small little town, eastern middle sort of part of Montana. We lived right across the street from a castle. And it's like, we lived on a hill, and if you've ever been to central Montana, White Sulphur, it's an actual castle. It's a stone building with turrets, and it's like this guy named Byron Sherman, B. Sherman, brought all this granite from the mountains, built a giant stone mansion to live on a hill, on the top of the hill, so he could watch over all of his sheep farms, and it literally has turrets. It's super cool. We'll throw a link in the description for it because I mean it's very much just like a cool place. My house is right next door to it, and so we always heard, oh, there's a ghost in the castle. There's a ghost in the castle, and you think, okay, whatever, it's a ghost in the castle. In the winter, it gets really dark really quick in Montana, and so when you were walking by, there's a different energy in this. And this place is a museum in the summer, but in the winter it's just closed up. And there's a bunch of stories about this, that, and the other thing happening in that place. But there has always been this sort of reoccurring story of, like you guys just said, a white ghost in the window, in this one window that was the kid's room, and the kid died on the property there. She's either kicked by a horse or killed by a family member, or there's a bunch of different stories, but she died while she lived there at that age. And so there was always this funny, like, oh, you'll see her at night, you'll see her at night, you'll see her at night. Well, being a high school student and being that age and having friends that are kind of weird like I am, we're going to stay up one night and we're going to watch. Because my dad had always said, because my dad's office window faced that window on the castle because it was right across the street. And he was always like, oh yeah, she's there. And we're like, all right, fine, we're going to sleep on the front porch and we're going to watch for her.
You're going to sleep where?
On the front porch.
The front porch?
The front porch, yeah,
Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe.
What?
All right, anyways.
So we're going to sleep on the front porch. And so my buddy Brett and I think my friend Sadie at the time, she was there. I don't remember if she was there or not. I had a video camera at the time. We rolled the video camera on the window, and we were going to stay up all night and watch it. And we were going to catch this ghost on camera. And we were determined to do it. So we start rolling, and we're hanging out and laughing, and it gets really late, and it's like 2, 3, 4 in the morning, and it's cold. It's like November in Montana, in like a 6,000 elevation. It's like 30 degrees. So we're like, we got to go inside. And so we're like, no, we're going to do 10 more minutes. And so we're all watching, and we start to sort of doze off because we're in that. And then all of a sudden something happens, and we're like, wait, what was that? And we just see like something in the window happen. And we're like, it's it, this is it. So we're like watching, and we're waiting. And then we sort of were like, oh, that wasn't anything. And we all turn, and we start talking to each other. And like out of the corner of our eye, just something sort of appears in that window for like, I don't know, maybe 3-4 seconds. Not quite sure what it is, but it's like, it's something that's not supposed to be there, and it's not a reflection because it's dark out.
Right.
And we're like, holy crap, that was a thing. We're hyped up. And so I'm like, roll the footage back. So we're like, we got it. So we look at my camera, and it's one of those old mini DV cameras, so we have to like rewind and then play and then like get in there. And so we get to that part in the footage, and we're like, sweet. And we're watching, and nothing happens on the footage. We're like, oh God. And then all of a sudden, a white frame. The whole thing, one white frame on camera. The whole frame is covered. The whole thing, just one solid white flash frame. And then picks right back up. Not like it's supposed to be there. It's just a flash frame of white. And it burns the whole image. And so we're like, oh, holy crap, we got it. So we roll it back. We download it onto my computer. And we're like watching it in the camera. We're watching it on the computer. We play it back in Premiere. Nothing.
Really?
Nothing. Just the footage plays fine. But when you watch it back in the camera, there's a white frame. So we're like, okay, something spooky, that's kind of one where we're just like, oh my God, that's so crazy. And then a couple of nights later, we're like, we're going to try it again. And we're wandering around like, I don't know, must have been like 1 or 2 in the morning. And my friend Brett and I at the time, we're walking up the hill because we're going to wait till it's later in the night to try to find it. And we're just standing, like kind of looking up at the castle window. And we're like looking at because there's like 4 windows, and she's supposed to be in this 1 second window on the 2nd floor. And she just comes to the window, and you can just see a girl sitting there. she kind of just is looking out past us, and we just frozen solid. We're like, oh my God, there she is. We're watching this happen. And she just sort of slowly goes away. And then Brad and I start freaking out. They're like, what do you mean we're not going to do it? Like, oh my God, what did we just see? And then for like the next couple of years, we would see her all the time in the winter, about the same time, just like totally, oh cool, there she is. And so now it's just like, just kind of one of those things like, oh, we see the ghost in the castle now. But it was just that weird, like, she showed up on camera for 1 second and then we started seeing her regularly.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, what the hell kind of thing, or beep, sorry. But, you know.
Technically.
Technically. We were just that whole ghost in the castle thing. And then there has been a couple of other, like, things in my past. You know, being a news photographer, I went to a ton of tragedies, which allowed for various connections to them on. Like, I went to a car crash. We were, like, one of the first people on scene.
Yeah.
Was there people wandering around back there?
I heard someone's feet, so I'm waiting for them to put their head in.
Yeah, no, I know. So there was other ones where, like, car crash, 16-year-old girl veered off the road, probably because she was inebriated or tired. She veered off into the road, went out into a field, crashed, and died. And it was a really foggy morning in Central Florida. Mm-hmm. And I remember rolling up on scene right after first responders, because I was on call that night. And in the morning in Florida, like early morning, it's really foggy in a lot of these places. And so there's all these first responder trucks on one side of the fog, and I'm walking through the others. And you can just like see through the fog. You can just see the silhouettes of people being cut out by police lights and stuff like that. And her mom showed up, and you just heard this wailing of her mom, and that just hits you so hard. And I just felt like, I feel terrible for this person. I can't, like, I have to do my job and cover the footage, but like, oh, what a person. So throughout the morning, we learned more about this girl, and we learned how, like, she was this really big person, and she did a lot of great things, and she had this great future ahead of her, but she died in this car accident. So we're just like, how do we tell this story? And as a news photographer, you're kind of like looking for those pieces and angles to try to help tell that story a little bit. So after everybody cleared, we came back for our noon live shot after shooting the package, talking to the teachers and the mom, the family, and things like that. Came back for our noon live shot, and I was just going to get some footage of like where this car had veered off into this field, and I'm by myself. Everyone had cleared the scene, and I'm walking the path of like where the car was after they pulled it all out, and I was rolling in a way to sort of see, like, we were going to do this whole like walking stand-up piece, and the car was gone, but you could see sort of the form of this car in the dirt and in the grass and everything like that. And where she had died was just open, and we were this wide shot. And I'm sitting there, and I'm just like, I kind of want to just say a prayer for her, because I felt horrible, but you could feel like this is that energy. And like, as I'm sort of talking to her and just saying, I'm really sorry, this is a fact, whatever you kind of think in your brain, this little butterfly just comes and lands right on that spot and just chills. And it's just I have this burned into my brain of this shot through my camera of this little butterfly just hanging out, and then like going, and then gone. And it's just like this really poignant moment in sort of that supernatural connection of capturing the story, but also like, I don't know, it's one of those little like just burned into your brain, brain things. It's just this wild thing, because like, I don't think I'd ever seen a butterfly in Florida where we were. It's like swamp.
Yeah.
And it was just this strange little, like, but beautiful looking butterfly that just shows up and then lands and takes off. And we sent that whole package out, and it was this, people commented on it and stuff like that, but it was just this very like unique supernatural kind of moment in that.
That was something like all these people saw it, but only you really felt the gravity of
you
that.
Could feel like that was sort of a moment for some reason. It was just weird.
Yeah.
I've got lots of others.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I thought of like 4 more from news.
Yeah, right.
As
From
you were
news,
saying
you get into that, and you get into these really weird kind of things. But yeah, it was crazy. Yeah. And then you get to the building. And I heard you guys talking a little bit about it.
Yeah.
The building's a whole other
it's a whole
thing.
as you can see.
Yeah, no.
What do you mean?
But yeah, ghosts have always been, spirits and things have always been kind of around.
My story isn't very poignant or heartfelt at all. It's just kind of terrifying.
Okay.
Perfect. I'm in.
Right.
So grab your popcorn because we're going to dive deep. Let me set the stage for you. And you might have heard this. You might have heard this. I can't remember. Jamaica, 2013. I'm a sophomore in high school. And at this time, I am going to youth group. Part of all the mission trips, go every Sunday, every Wednesday, whenever it was. And this mission trip was going to Jamaica to a deaf community in the mountains. And we were helping them rebuild a church they had up there that had been decrepit for a while. If you ever go to Jamaica, or if you've ever been, it's a lot of ruins. I don't know the history of the country as to why that happened, if it's just storms or, war, whatever it is, earthquakes. It's just a lot of ruins, a lot of people taking housing in ruins, and a lot of just empty shells of what used to be. Just very eerie. It's a very eerie country. It's very beautiful. So we go to this deaf community in the mountains. And we're doing like heavy cement work. We're watching the kids for them while they go off to their jobs. We're helping them teach their vacation Bible school for the kids and whatnot. And it's super fun. And our reward was they let us go up to the top of the mountain to the abandoned chapel up there. And they were like totally safe. There's no like falling, like none of the structures falling or crumbling
Walls
or
aren't
anything.
going to crush
Yeah.
you.
Right.
All you kids go have fun. Go play.
Go play in the
Go hang off of whatever you can.
Yeah.
So we were like, yes, because we always love playing sardines on these youth group trips. So we get up to the chapel. It's midnight, and we start playing sardines, of course.
What's sardines?
Sardines is like hide and seek, but multiple people hide, depending on the type of sardines you're playing. Everyone else has to find them, but when you find them, you have to fit into the space with them.
Oh, sure.
No matter
Yep.
where it is. Yeah, it's so fun.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And people would just find like the grossest
Team
like,
building activity.
like underneath
No.
underneath 30-year-old pews, cobwebs,
Right,
and,
gross.
like,
Just, yeah.
bugs crawling around. They're
Yeah.
like,
You're just
yeah,
asking to
that's a
get
hiding
haunted at that
spot.
point. I mean,
So we're a few games in. We know the ground rules, like where we're supposed to go and where we're not supposed to. There are
Right.
like signs up,
Right.
and everything.
Danger.
Yeah,
Right.
like we know. It's like our third or fourth game. It's 2 a.m. at this point, and I'm start with a group. The sardines have hid at this point, and we're walking around, and my group gets smaller and smaller and smaller because people break off, and they either find them or you just don't see them until the end of the game. And eventually, I'm by myself. And as I'm walking on the first floor, I come to a set of steel doors kind of off in a corner, just completely away from everything else. And I'm like, that's new.
Hey.
No signs on that. I'm going to go through that.
Good idea.
And
It's like going upstairs in a haunted movie, in a scary movie, right?
And imagine like heavy steel doors with like push bars like you'd see in like a middle school cafeteria.
Yeah,
type
totally.
thing.
Yep.
okay.
I push them open, double steel doors, creak open. They open up into this long hallway with one working light bulb in the center that's flickering.
Solid. Yep.
And all the wiring on the walls is exposed. There are doorways and windows that are either boarded, locked, or just blocked off in general.
Perfect place for kids to be at the middle of the night.
Yes.
Yeah. Gotcha.
And at the end of this hallway is another set of those steel doors. And I'm like, I want to go there.
Yes.
Because this is a good hiding spot already. Because I have not seen anybody else go in here so far, or anyone mention it. So I'm walking down the hallway, and behind me, the steel door is shut. And it's dead quiet.
New dimension.
I hear the hum of the light bulb flickering on and off, and that's it. I can't hear anyone else like laughing, running around anymore. It's just dead quiet in this hallway. So I'm walking, checking doors. Nothing's unlocked. I get to the end. I push open the other set of steel doors, and it's a staircase. This church is 3 stories. That's what we were told. There's a first floor, second floor, and then a smaller third floor. So I open up the staircase, and there are stairs going up, but there are stairs going down.
Always go down.
And I'm on the first floor.
Yes.
So as far as I know, there should be no stairs going down.
Right, basement.
Unless it's like some weird entrance to this church. And I'm like, I'm going to go down. Because no one else knows about this basement.
Win sardines.
And the and the staircase is quite nice. It's linoleum. There's actual lighting. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So I start going down, and I'm going down, and I'm going down, and there are no doors. There are no exits. Just me and the stairs at this point. And I go from nice linoleum stairs to just bare concrete. Just like chipped, old, no lights anymore. I have a little LED flashlight with me, and I just keep going down because I'm on a mountain. This can go down as long as it wants.
Right. You're stepping into a different superhero movie.
I'm so stressed out right now.
And I mean, I'm walking downstairs for like 2 minutes, which doesn't seem like a lot, but you shouldn't be on stairs for longer than like, a bit. Like 30 seconds,
right? You know, 10, 15 stairs.
Yeah,
good, great.
But I've been walking for a while, and I finally get to the bottom, and the atmosphere has just completely shifted at this point. I mean, I don't know how deep I am in this mountain, but I mean, I can tell that I went down pretty far, and there is one more set of steel doors, and behind them I hear footsteps. And they're not any footsteps, they are heavy boot footsteps. And in my head, that makes sense because we've been doing concrete work.
Right.
And all of us have boots with us.
Right, so it's one of your friends.
Most of us are wearing them.
Right.
And I'm like, I got him. I found him.
Yep.
They thought they had a good spot, but I found him. And it is a good spot.
It's a great spot.
So I'm like, let's do it. Push open the steel doors one more time. These ones are heavier, and they make a lot more noise than the other ones. And I swing them open, and it's just it's a cement wall going this way. It's a cement wall going this way. The ceiling is lower than the one in here by just like a little bit, and I cannot tell how big this room is. I see nothing. It is bare concrete floor. Very important note. Pristine.
Whoa.
It is in pristine condition.
Nice.
No dust, no nothing, which I thought was even weirder.
Yeah. Should be dirty if it's in the middle of a mountain.
So I'm in this room swinging my flashlight around. Footsteps have stopped at this point, and it's just pitch black in front of me. I cannot see anything. And I'm like kind of following the wall for a bit, but I can tell it just keeps going on. So I'm like, that's pointless. And I break off, and I know where the doorway is this entire time also. It's not an issue. And I'm going into the room, and I'm swinging my flashlight around back and forth.
Someone just jumps out.
Just wait. I'm waiting for that. I'm like, if they're going to scare me, they can scare me, but I found them, so it's all right.
I win still. Yeah.
But I think what was freaking me out a little bit was the fact that no one was doing that.
Right.
And I wasn't hearing breathing.
Right.
There was no like
solid.
There was no like shifting any bodies. It was dead silent.
Right.
And I stop and I wait because I'm like, I just need to hear them. I need to hear them do something. And they start walking again, and it's directly in front of me, and they're a long ways away, but I can hear them, and I'm like, okay. And it's the heavy boot steps yet again, like very heavy, very slow. They're in no rush. So
I don't know you're there yet.
Oh, they know I'm there. They heard those doors slam behind me. There's no way they don't know I'm there. And my flashlight is on too. So I'm slowly moving it, just like kind of moving forward, trying to find them. And they're still just walking back and forth, and I'm still making my way towards them. Eventually, they start walking towards me.
Yep, I'm gone.
And I'm like, okay, now they're gonna scare me. So I stop and I wait, and they keep getting closer to me. And I'm waiting and I'm waiting and waiting. And they keep getting closer. And I'm like, well, they can't scare me if they don't know where I am. So I turn my flashlight off. So it's pitch black now, and I slowly shift my position. So the beeline they were making towards me, I'm not there anymore.
Right. Get out of the way.
But it keeps walking towards me, even though I moved.
Nice.
I mean, you can't trick them, but smart.
Yeah.
You're smart with
So
the
at this
horns.
point, I'm like, well, now hold up.
Something isn't adding up.
Immediately turn my flashlight back on because at this point, it's like 20 feet away from me,
Right.
and I would absolutely be able to see something. And I'm whipping my flashlight back and forth, and I don't see anything, but it's still coming towards me. And I'm like, all right, yeah, it's time to go.
I'm gonna die.
So I'm backing up, like with my hand out, and I know where the door is, and I'm doing it, and it's still walking towards me very slow. And I feel the door. I like fall through it. I force the door shut, book it upstairs, and I come back out, and I'm like, okay.
Right.
Everyone is gone at this point because they all found the sardines. I don't even know how long I was down there for. But after the game is over, I didn't end up finding them. I took way too long wherever I was.
Right.
Whatever dimension
The
I was in.
Dharma Initiative.
And we all sat down afterwards to like talk about our days and whatnot. And I raised my hand immediately. And they were like, "What's up?" And I was like, "Who was in the basement with me like 10 minutes ago?" And they were like, "What are you talking about?"
Like what basement?
Because
Yeah.
no
Yeah,
one knows
what basement?
no one knows about the basement.
Right.
And I'm like, one of you was down there with me, and they were like, "Bro, there's no basement." And I'm like, "I'll show you." So I bring them to the doors. The doors are still there. It wasn't like a weird like ghost thing.
Disappearing doors.
Show them the hallway. I'm like, those doors on the other side, there's a staircase. Go look at it. And they went, they looked at it. They were like, "Yep, those stairs are going down." And I'm like, "Don't go down there." They're like, "Oh no, we don't want to."
No one does.
No, I'm good.
They're like, "I am amazed you went down there." And I'm like, "Well, you didn't say it was off limits." And they're like, "Well, we didn't know that existed."
Right.
So,
That was a different dimension.
yeah. So yeah, that is my ghost experience in Jamaica.
Solid.
What a place to
High
have
school
one.
sophomore. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was blown away. I mean,
So did you ever go back in during the day?
to that chapel?
Yeah.
No,
Oh, okay.
no. Because I told everyone what happened, and they were like,
Yeah, we're going home now.
we probably shouldn't.
That's wild.
And I was better at sign language then, but I was like signing to one of the villagers, like roughly. I wasn't very good at it. Like
Scary
roughly what had
basement,
happened to me.
People.
And
Footsteps.
they
Help.
they ended up writing to me. They were like, "Yes, that place is haunted. We know it. It's just like not typically a hostile presence type thing."
Right.
And I was like, "Got it."
Cool. Yeah.
And then they were like, "You want to eat an entire Scotch bonnet pepper?" And I was like, "Sure."
And that's another story.
Wow.
That's crazy.
But yeah.
Yeah, we've just in doing different things and being in different places, I've seen a lot, like, or heard of a lot of those kind of like random one-off like basements or like spaces like the castle I was telling you about in White
Yeah.
Sulphur. There's that same room where you see the girl, like there's a closet, like a wardrobe that you can like stick your hand in, and it's like super cold. And you're just like, is that just because it's changing air, or is there something there?
Right.
And it's like beyond a rope. Not by, and this castle has no air conditioning, so it's like those like, something
like-
is something.
It's just,
Wait
it's just
a
Narnia
minute.
on the other side. That's why
Yeah.
it's called.
Yeah.
Aubrey, I know you have one final story.
Bonus story.
I
I
from
do. Yeah, I thought of
Aubrey.
it. It popped into my brain. I was like, oh yeah, I remember when that happened. It's probably
Working its way out.
yeah. Sometimes things just come to the forefront. It was probably 8 years ago now. I was working in news, and there was a woman who had been missing from like the west side of Grand Rapids. She'd been missing for 3 or 4 weeks, and one day I was still living with my parents at the time, and one day me and my mom went to run errands, and we came back, and there was a bunch of crime scene tape up in this just dirt area. Our neighborhood was still being built at the time. It's this condo neighborhood over in Walker, and I saw all the crime tape and all the cops on scene, and I
Call
just
station.
knew something. Yeah. And I just knew something wasn't right. I was like, okay, if a construction worker got hurt, there would have been sirens and an ambulance. You know, I knew the response. It seems like that, and that was not that. So yeah, I got out of the car. My mom dropped me off. Like, the entrance of the neighborhood was where the construction was going on, and we lived in the back. So my mom dropped me off at where everything was going down, and I walked up to an officer. I was in plain clothes, and I just was kind of like, hey, what's going on? And I could tell by his response and his tone that something was up and that they weren't going to tell me. So I got on the phone and I was like, hey, you got to get a photog down here. There's definitely breaking news. Like,
Yep.
And there was a station really close to that neighborhood, so I really wanted to beat them there. Whole nother story. Anyways, we were first on scene and broke it.
Right.
And it turns out they had found the missing woman's body in our neighborhood. She had been taken by this really evil man that worked with her, and he had come on to her. She refused, so he killed her, and he dragged her into this construction area and buried her in the dirt. And the construction equipment had dug her up just by moving dirt. So they had found her, and her family came down to the scene, and like you said, blood-curdling screams. I mean, you don't forget that. Nope. That's one of the most painful things that you can hear. And I had been working the night shift at that point, so I kind of realized that I could have been pulling into my neighborhood at night when he was dumping her there.
Oh, weird.
And I also had to park across from our neighborhood because it was a condo with HSA and all these rules, and I wasn't allowed to have my car in the driveway.
Right.
Your cars had to be in the garage. You park in this visitor lot. So every night I was walking from this visitor lot, which was right in view of where they found her. And I saw her a few times after that. Just her like standing over where they found her very late at night, classic shadowy figure, but in the clothes that she was wearing when they found her. Because I, being a nosy journalist, got as close to the scene as I could, and I saw some of her. I knew what she was wearing, and I saw her through windows. Like, I saw her in the tree line of our condo for a few times. I saw her by where they found her just for a while after that. And then after they caught the guy, I stopped seeing her.
Right.
Because he was like on the run for a while. They kind of suspected him, but you have to have you can't just arrest somebody on suspicion. You know, they had to put the whole case together. So once he was arrested and I believe officially charged is when I stopped seeing her. But
wow.
I won't forget that for a lot of reasons. But yeah, I kind of put that in my brain as that she found peace somehow.
Right.
Like, her family found out what happened to her. She had been buried for a couple weeks before anybody found her. So I just kind of took that as she's now at peace, is no longer reaching out to this other side.
Right.
And that's why I'm no longer seeing her. But yeah, I'll remember that for a while. I think of her family often.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
And coming up next.
Always bringing it down. But yeah, anyway, first time seeing.
I mean, wow. Yeah. Thank you, both of you, for
Hey, no problem.
coming on and
Anytime.
sharing and listening to what
Spooky
I have to
podcast.
say.
I love spooky stuff. I'm
Love
happy to
spooky
talk about
stuff.
this stuff. So
Yeah.
Yeah, spooky stuff is fun.
yeah.
Yeah, dude. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us for this Halloween special, as we like to call it. Super spooky, I hope. If you ever come visit our office, keep your eyes peeled.
We'll keep it on tour.
You might
I'll protect you.
you might see something that you didn't expect to see. Something paranormal. Something supernatural, one might say. But thanks for tuning into this one. Make sure you give our other October episode a listen. And get out of our basement.
For your own good.
Please. Believe it or not, we are actual video professionals in addition to being total wackos on this podcast. If you like The Front Porch, make sure to subscribe to the channel. You can also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok. We deliver best-in-class video content for our global clients in a range of corporate applications. We regularly work with product-based companies, corporate marketing teams, high-tech manufacturing agencies, and many more. If you're ready to get started on your next video content project, reach out to our team and let's talk video. You're welcome on our porch anytime.